Hello, everyone. So, finally, we are here for our live session today. And the major topic or the session today is going to be on helping all of you understand what is this Project Youth, what it entails, why are we doing it, and what are the different processes that would be involved in this project. So, this is a very good opportunity for all of us to connect with each other and understand from each other how we can contribute to this wonderful project called as Project Youth. This is Asira Chirmule, and this is our center, Atha Center for Psychotherapy and Training. And I have a great batch of psychologists with me here who are going to come together uh, for this project specifically. And we are all going to share our inputs, and we are also going to help you get some glimpse about this project so that you know what to expect from this project of ours. So if you have any questions about this Project Youth while we are talking and discussing, please feel free to post it on the comment box, and we'll be more than happy to respond and try to understand your viewpoints. So let us begin this session today. This session will be for 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour. And what we are going to do is one by one, we'll talk about certain important processes involved in this project and why we are doing it. But let me tell you something. 2021, 12th January, which is known as the National Youth Day, on this day, we announced this beautiful project called as Project Youth. 12th January is also known as the National Youth Day. It is the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. We all know Swami Vivekananda is a youth icon, is a visionary leader, and we all definitely take a lot of inspiration, must take inspiration from his commendable work. I don't know whether we are even an authority to talk about it, but definitely it is our offering of gratitude and love towards the visionary leader that he was, and his amazing concepts which have rebuilt, you know, the light of inspiration amongst youth. I remember a very amazing quote by Swami Vivekananda. The quote is, "Youth is the best time. The way in which you utilize this period will decide the nature of coming years that lie ahead of you." And that is why this time period that we have chosen, 18 to 25 years, this is the age range that we are going to address today. Because according to him, this is the resource of hope, inspiration, strength, and vision. And if we look at our education system today, I cannot say for all the universities that are involved, but some of the universities definitely. Our focus is not so much on building strength, building resilience, and giving inspiration and mental health tools. And Swami Vivekananda also talked about education in a very, very reflective manner. He said that the education which does not help the common mass of people to equip themselves for the struggle of life, if your education does not bring out the strength of character within you, a spirit of philanthropy, and the courage of a lion, then is this education really worth it? Should we encourage this kind of education? Definitely, we shouldn't. Real education is that which enables us to stand on our own legs. And that's exactly the vision that we are inspired by for our Project Youth. When we are talking about well-being today, we don't want to only focus on physical well-being. We want all of us to even become mentally fit, mentally equipped to face adversities of life, face challenges, and transcend beyond them. That's what is the vision that we carry here. So, what is Project Youth? It is helping our youth, assisting them by giving them psychotherapy, but in the form of mental health well-being toolkits, which are affordable, which are inspiring, and which are very, very interesting. And this is going to help our youth to build their mental strength so that they can face anything and everything with balance and with lots of inspiration. This is why we are coming together to discuss about this project youth. I hope you got some understanding about who is our inspiration. Our inspiration is Swami Vivekananda. We are taking a lot of inspiration. Why we are doing it? Because we want to concentrate on mental wellness as a whole. We want to provide affordable mental health and well-being toolkits to our youth who are in the age range of 18 to 25. This is what we are going to do today, right? So let's begin this journey. I just need to help you guys understand, you know, this journey today. And before we start that, I'm going to show, or I'm going to highlight some facts about the current mental status in India amongst youth. But 20% of young people, they are experiencing some or the other form of mental disorders which are not diagnosed. 20%, that's huge. In India, you will also see 7.3% of its 365 million youth report concerns like anxiety, depression, suicide, self-harm, anger, etc. There was also one study done in 2014 which said that 14.5% of adolescents suffering from, are seen in India suffering from anxiety disorders like panic attacks, like anxiety with reference to job, with reference to achievement. 1 in 4 teenagers in India suffer from depression. 1 in 4. In the last 5 years, more than 40,000 students have committed suicide. More than 40,000. And this is something I'm talking, statistics for India here. Generalized anxiety disorder is on the rise, they say. Addiction is again a very, very important concern, and not just substance use disorders, but you also see game addiction, you also see social media addiction, which is on the rise. Young people are also prone to other health conditions like with reference to obesity, low self esteem can create concerns related to anxiety, related to self concept. So you see a lot of young individuals, they, most of the times I see them coming up with concerns related to low self esteem, low confidence. Sometimes they think of themselves as worthless, and this is a concern which needs to be addressed systematically. That's why these mental health toolkits, and you will see how they are going to help our youth. Another important fact is 21.4% of individuals who fall in the range of 12 to 18 years, they suffer from alcohol use disorders. 12 to 18 years. This is what is happening today. Are we paying attention? I don't know. And even if we are paying attention, are we doing something for them? Are we trying to equip them with mental health well-being toolkits? I know many organizations who are doing such a fantastic job. Atha Center is just going to contribute, I don't know how much, but just in some way. But we want to do something for our own youth, because youth is the best time to invest. And youth is also our hope for tomorrow. It is a resource. And when I say this, all my team members here, they are also in the age range of 18 to 25, 28. So they are also very youthful, vigorous, and they have the energy to do something. And we are going to come up with these toolkit. So Prajakta, let's start with you today. So Prajakta
Yes.
is a trained psychologist. She's been working with Atha Center for Psychotherapy and Training. and she has also completed her primary and advanced in rational emotive behavior therapy. She's going to talk about today with reference to issues that, individuals who are in the category of 18 to 25 years generally ignore, and they don't pay attention to these concerns. And if they don't pay attention, what's going to happen? So she's going to talk about it right now.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, and hello, everyone. So, as Asira ma'am said, that you know, today's youth generation is facing a lot of concerns. So there is anxiety, there is depression, there is some health concerns like obesity or diabetes also. Then some psychological concerns like procrastination or again addiction. So these are the major concerns that today's youth is facing. And while we face all these concerns, at times we try to ignore them, and it is very normal because having these concerns is not a pleasant experience. But totally avoiding them or ignoring them is absolutely not a solution. As we go ahead with this live, we will strongly emphasize this point. So, because of the unpleasant experience, we try to ignore or try to suppress these concerns, right? So, for example, a very current issue like a loss of job. Okay, so if I'm thinking of a loss of a job in a very negative manner, so like if I'm telling myself, oh, this is the worst thing that can happen with me, or I cannot do anything good now, or it's just the end. So if I'm going to tell this to myself, then obviously I might experience some kind of disturbance, and which is, which will stop me from achieving what I want to do. And if I don't deal with this issue in an appropriate manner and in correct time, then it will, it will not help me in any manner. Even though at this point I might feel that okay, ignoring this concern might help me, or if I say okay, I'll deal with this issue later, first let me concentrate on my work, on my studies, and I'll try my best to get the job. But the question is, how will I do that if I have the depressing thoughts going on constantly in my mind? Won't they distract me from achieving what I want? Hence, if we go on ignoring them or suppressing them, like no, I don't have these thoughts, or I don't have these feelings, is it really helping me? So I would like all of you to ask this particular question when we are suppressing or avoiding a particular thought or particular feeling that is unpleasant to us. And moreover, if we go on avoiding these concerns and we are not dealing with them, then they will get more stronger and stronger, and they may get control on us rather than we getting control on them, right? So if if I have a fear of public speaking, and and I'm thinking that okay, I'll do something wrong when I talk to people, and if in this thinking, if I go on avoiding speaking to people, or I go on avoiding situations which require me to speak in front of people, then that fear will go on increasing. So if I am fearful in talking in front of 10 people today, then tomorrow it might get worse. I might be fearful of talking in front of 4 people as well. So if we don't deal with the problem here and now, or in as I said, in correct time, the concerns may get worse. If I'm procrastinating on 4 things right now, then later if I don't deal with it, I may procrastinate on more things, maybe 10. And what this will lead to, I will not achieve what I want in my life, right? Because I keep on avoiding and keep on avoiding dealing with these concerns. And as I'm saying time and again that we it will stop me from achieving what I want, right? The goal of our living, or the goal we set for ourselves, is very very important for us, right? And if we don't achieve that, then it will also be very unpleasant for us. So then why not deal with this unpleasant concern and then get a more happiness by achieving our goal, right? So if let's say for example I have a fear of failure, and if I have my exams, and this fear of failure is constantly torturing me and is not helping me to study, then will I achieve the goal of getting very nice marks in exams? So it will, it will not help me achieve my goals. So then why not deal with these concerns right now, when we have when we have helplines, or when we have trained therapists or professionals around us, right? What do you guys think about this? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think Prajakta, you did make very good points there with reference to how avoidance can actually keep maintaining the problem here. And mostly, most of us, because it's quite comforting to avoid, we do go towards it a lot rather than actually facing the problem and working on it. And another point which I really resonated with was that if we keep avoiding one problem we are already experiencing, but because we are avoiding, you would see other problems also contributing, and then there is a list of problems that then we have to address. So these are great points that you highlighted.
Yeah, and if I may add something, I just thought of a metaphor while Prajakta was speaking, that if you don't put the fire out as soon as it starts, it'll just keep spreading.
Very
That
true. That's very apt. So then
Ma'am,
after
you're
Prajakta, yeah, I realize that after Prajakta has given her insight today on, the issues that uh, youth can suffer from, and if they keep avoiding them, what effect it will have. Let's move to the next important point, which Shreya Haran. I would be more than happy to introduce her because she is now working with Atha Center for Psychotherapy and Training. She's an assistant psychologist, and she has been also trained in RECBT and lot many other therapies. And so she's going to share insights on the stigma that's associated with taking or seeking mental help, professional mental help.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for introducing me. I think I would like to build on the point that Prajakta put up about how how the concerns of the youth are being. We usually resort to avoiding or distraction. I would like to focus on why we actually do so. Why don't we deal with our concerns? Why do we think that avoiding them or distracting them is like an easier action? So, at this point, I would like to steer the conversation in the direction of what stigma is attached to the mental health of the youth, and what status do these concerns actually hold in our society. Um, so, to begin with, I think the most concerning fact here is the way mental health concerns of the youth are viewed by us as a society. It's pretty much like we all, as a society, have constructed this perception of emotional concerns of the youth as either a sign of laziness or avoidance. And I think all of us would agree to this. Don't we agree to this? I mean, how many times we've been told by our parents or elders that, don't be lazy or stop giving excuses to avoid the situation. This very term excuses, it's almost like a substitution for mental health issues. Like all of us use it as a substituting term. Like if you have to say, okay, I think I'm going through some mental issue, it's almost like, oh, you're giving an excuse, we don't address the mental issue, we just use it as an excuse, or we perceive that it is being used as an excuse. And not just it's not just that the society is adding to the stigma. I think somewhere it is also we uh, we as an individual also add to the stigma of our own mental health. Like, I would like to call it as self stigma. So, and I'm sure you will all resonate with what I'm going to speak, is that we are kind of adding to this entire concept of mental issues. Like, we get into this act of self diagnosing and labeling as soon as we find out that there is some discomfort or some problem with our mental health. We simply start self diagnosing and labeling ourselves, and then we start to believe all the bad things that we hear about this self assigned diagnosis. So there are these stages that we are all going through. Like, first there is awareness that there is some issue or there is some concern. Then there is agreement with the stigma attached. We all kind of tend to incline ourselves towards the bad things that we hear about the concern. um, and then what we do is we start believing these concerns. We start believing this stigma that is attached, and then finally we start to act in a way that confirms that confirms the stigma. So, like, we'll isolate ourselves, we'll distract ourselves. So I think somewhere self stigma is also majorly contributing to the entire mental health status that is in the society. And apart from all of these, there is also stigma attached to consulting a therapist or a psychiatrist. Like, it is very conveniently considered as a sign of weakness or not being able to deal with your problems on your own. That is like the biggest reason why consulting a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist is not an immediate action. However, we don't realize that consulting a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist is just as convenient and as normal as consulting a physician for a physical concern. It's just as it's like, whenever we have a physical concern and we go to a doctor, we don't say, oh, this is sign of weakness, you should be able to, sir, like, perform a surgery on your own heart. Like, we never say this. But when it comes to mental health, we always say, oh, you should be able to deal with your own problems. So even this is adding to the already existing stigma. And finally, one more thing that I can think of is the whole idea of considering mental health as the rich people syndrome. For example, depression is considered as the illness of the rich. So even this is adding to the stigma. And all of these all of these points that I've made are contributing to why taking therapy is not our immediate action. Like, whenever we go through a mental issue, why why do we not think that, okay, going to a therapist is okay? uh, it's more like we will try all the ineffective home remedies. We know they are ineffective, but we'll still try them. So, like, distracting yourself, it's the easiest. Distract yourself, or go to your friends, vent to them, or take unnecessary advices. we I know we've all realized that it's ineffective, it's not going to help, but still going to a therapist is still considered like a sign of the weak. And it's really sad. I mean, I'm sure all of you agree to this.
Yes, if I may add something to this. Also, I feel that, stigma that is there in that we have surrounding mental health also comes from So for example, mental health is invisible and physical health is visible. Hence, whenever we feel a headache, or we have some injury or etc., everyone comes to us, tells us, do this, do that. Everyone comes to comfort us. However, when the same thing happens to us, that is some mental health condition or some other issues, it leads to that no one knows what to say at that time. And also at that time, other than comforting, while it is done for any other physical problem, we tend to say, it's okay, let's just go out, it will be all good, etc. So I just wanted to add that over here.
So I think both of you made some very insightful points. I think Shreya, really, I like the concept that you put forth with reference to self-reinforced stigma. That's a very unique way of perceiving or processing the stigma that is very much prevalent. So I really like the fact that we also need to take responsibility for the stigma here. It's just not the society or the community or the nation, but it starts with us. Any nation starts with us, any community is maintained through us only. So I think that's a very valid point. And as Vrishti also added on to this point with reference to, how we also give quick remedies to individuals when they are in emotional distress. So that's what our mental health toolkit is not only going to equip you, but it is also going to equip you to understand how to give help when someone is expressing deep rooted emotions, when someone is trying to talk to you about deepest fears, how to respond, how to validate. This skill is also something that we are going to build through this mental health toolkit, which our project youth entails. It's quite interesting, guys, right? So let's move to the next step here. After we have understood stigma, now we are also going to understand what are the most important reasons to why we don't seek therapy other than stigma. What are some of the reasons, right? So I guess Manali is going to throw light on this point.
Sure, thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, I'd like to I'd like to start by addressing how important it is to seek therapy and or get therapy from a trained psychologist. And as Shreya mentioned, that sometimes we also end up talking to friends and getting advices from them. Of course, it does make us feel better. Opening up or expressing our emotions to our friends and dear ones does make us feel good for the time being, but it obviously cannot substitute professional therapy or psychotherapy. So psychotherapy is I'd like to take a moment to explain what exactly psychotherapy is. So psychotherapy is a set of behavior modification techniques that have a scientific base, and it requires you to alter your it requires you to make behavior modifications and rectify your life choices and your daily day-to-day activities to some extent, and which is why it is very important to know who your therapist is and knowing the qualification of your therapist. So I would also like to tell that all the people who think or are all the people who are thinking of getting into therapy or thinking of getting the therapy session for themselves, they have the right to ask their therapist about their qualifications. And but also it doesn't mean that you don't trust your therapist. It is important to ask them their qualification, but also trust them with the therapeutic process that they are choosing for you. And this also gives me immense pleasure to introduce you to team Project Youth, which includes Prajakta Vaishampayan, Ishwari Bhoga, Shreya Haran, Drishti Shah, and myself. So we are a batch of 5 trained psychologists who are trained under Miss Asira Chirmule, and we have also taken the 30-hour training RECBT training from Miss Asira Chirmule. And Prajakta and Ishwari are also getting trained with their advanced and primary and advanced practicum in RECBT. And so, which is why I took this chance to introduce you all to us, and you should know who your therapists for the Project Youth are. And next point that I'd like to bring up is the difference between what exactly. I mean, many people just think that psychotherapy is basically talking. Just what you go there and you share your problems with your therapist, and then they give you some advice. So this is the biggest myth that we have all heard, I'm sure. So I'd like to tell that this is obviously not true. It's a lot more than talk therapy. So, for example, you wouldn't go to a friend of yours who has a lot of knowledge about dentistry to get your tooth removed, would you? You definitely don't want to do that. So, similarly, you wouldn't go to a friend, or you just don't want to talk to a friend who has read some books on psychology or has some knowledge about what psychology is and how human emotions work. Of course, they can, if I may say so, they can guide you what the next step can be, but that obviously cannot be the substitution for a proper therapy session. So if you want to know more information about what exactly you should do after you think that, okay, I may need uh, health or mental help, or I need help for my mental health concerns, you can obviously uh, you can also ask us at Ather, and you can talk with your friends as well. But a therapy session is a therapy session, and know your therapist. It's very important to know your therapist before you start a therapy session with them. Don't you all agree with this?
Okay.
Yes, Manali, and also like you said, that it's not just talking. I'd also like to add some points here that it's people think you rightly said that people think that it's just talking, and if I just go and vent and the thing is done. No, it's therapy is an intervention. There are proper steps. We work with our clients. It's a collaborative effort towards getting better, right? So for example, if the client comes to us with stress related issues, we will take the time out to understand what kind of stress are they going through, are they experiencing physical symptoms, or is it just cognitively playing out, that there is overthinking or there is lack of concentration. Based on the symptoms also, then we work on, um, do we need to work on just the cognitive aspects of it, or is it playing out physically also? Then we need to focus on the physical aspects of it, and then we come up with treatment plans. So it's a step by step process, and I think people need to know that it's an entire intervention, it's a process, and it's not just venting out and talking. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
and
I agree with
yes, ma'am.
Ishwari. And I would like to build on the point that Manali mentioned. So it is not just enough to read the books and we are ready for counseling. It's not like that, right? Books will only teach us the theory, but when it comes to practical, it will come from the experience, right? And it is not just getting the degree, but actually getting supervised by the trained supervisor, right? And because we five have gone through this great supervision by Asira ma'am, so I think that supervision gave us very great insights that we might have missed from just the books, right? So I think this is also the point where we need to stress upon that it is important to get supervised as the therapist and then start counseling the clients, right?
That's a great point, Prajakta, which you mentioned. That all this, the team members at Ather, they have been supervised. They have all gone through rigorous training and supervision, and they are continuously in touch with the latest research-based tools and techniques to equip you. And I'm going to definitely be monitoring the process, and I'm going to be in constant touch with my team here. So this team, I'm sure that it is well equipped to address your mental health concerns. Right now, moving to the next important point that we should not forget. Yes, we did talk about stigma being there, self reinforced stigma, society based stigma, and other aspects to it. But we should also know that slowly India is definitely on a great journey ahead. It's not all black, neither it's all white. We all live for the grace and in the grace, right? So Ishwari is now going to highlight a very important point with reference to how the stigma is slowly dissolving, in what way it is dissolving. Over to you, Ishwari.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, yes, we all talked about how there is stigma and how people are not understanding what exactly therapy is and all those, the downside of why things are not moving forward or why the youth is not getting the help that it's required. But I'd also like to take this opportunity to highlight the fact that to a large extent now, the stigma is dissolving and there are more and more people are also getting educated and they are coming to terms with or understanding what mental health is. So we all must be aware of how on Instagram there is so much of awareness related to mental health issues, be it anxiety, tips related to how to handle anxiety. There are so many pages coming out. There are so many therapists making their pages who are posting daily about little things about mental health, what to do, how to handle daily stressors, uh, depression tips, more and more sensitization towards understanding the different disorders and how to deal with friends who are going through disorders, how to choose a right therapist, or uh, there are contacts being spread on suicide helpline contacts or so many other counselors. There is a latest post that has been going on is there is the distinction between um, counselors, psychiatrists, clinical psychologists, and all these important and relevant information related to mental health, therapy, counseling that has been coming out. So just wanted to highlight this, that even this is happening nowadays. More and more information is being spread out. The stories are being shared. There are posts being shared, posts being informal posts being made about how mental health is important and how one must focus on that first, and how it is as important as physical health. So there is a lot of sensitization that's happening towards. I have so many friends who, when they hear that I am in this field of psychology, they come up to me and they ask me how things work, or what is a counselor, what do they do, and how is the whole structure, what happens. So so there is, slowly but surely, things are changing, but we are not entirely there. Definitely, we are not entirely there because we are yet to reach thousands of people. We are yet to make counseling affordable and um, it available to so many people. There are so many people who still don't know that there is something called as mental health and that you need to take care of your own mind. And but yeah, change is happening, but to propel it and to strengthen this change, we've come up with this initiative of Project Youth, and I sincerely hope and pray that we reach more and more people, more youth, uh, so that we try to make a better world. And yeah, that's all from me. And I remember, Shreya, you were telling me about how in schools and in education systems, mental health is being so would you like to add that point?
So by that I meant that nowadays, like we see that even the schools and education institutions are getting sensitive to the concept of mental health of the children. We like this very idea of making a school that is inclusive of children who require special needs, and giving them an environment that can facilitate their growth uh, despite their despite the concerns that can arise, like they can have mental concerns or they can have slow learning abilities and all of that. So there are schools and there are education institutions that are even facilitating that. So I meant that now everybody is getting a little sensitive, and it's happening from right from childhood. So I think that's a very, very beautiful sign that we are moving towards a better mentally healthy like country.
Yes, and I guess all of you sitting here today and all the viewers, you would agree with me. Today, we are really in a much better position when it comes to mental health, right? We are talking, we are having this live session that itself tells us about what is the need of our community today. What are they asking? What are our youth looking for from all of us? The fact that we are talking together here and trying to come up with a scientific plan of action means that we are progressing and we are moving ahead. And that needs to be acknowledged and appreciated. In a country like India, where we have so many people, we have so many states, you would see our country is really taking lot many efforts with reference to establishing free online counseling services, establishing free rehabilitation centers, right? You saw during COVID-19 pandemic, all these girls would agree with me. When we used to open Instagram pages, we used to see so many counselors coming together and offering their services for free. This is the change that we are looking for, and this is what is progress to me and to all of us, right? So there's great hope, and we are clinging onto that hope now. So the next important point that we would try to now focus on. And probably we can start with Brusti highlighting this, Brusti, if you don't mind. Manali very nicely explained about what is psychotherapy and what it has, how it is different from just talking to your friends. So now, Brusti, would you like to tell our viewers how this psychotherapy is actually going to help them? How will this help give them some measurable outcomes?
Yes, ma'am. So, as Manali had mentioned, that psychotherapy is not just talking. In fact, it involves you to think about your beliefs, your thoughts, etc. So, how is this psychotherapy going to help you? Is that you will be given a lot of interventions as to what you can do when you feel a particular way or when you have a particular belief. And with that, we will be providing you with all the facts of what you are facing, and also we will be including all the interventions, all the relaxing techniques, and everything that you can do on day to day basis. And also I think this is to encourage you, the person who, the client who is seeking the therapy, as well as it will give them insight and understand mental health much more in a better way, and also to help the people who are around them.
Very good points. Marali, do you want something? Do you want to add something with reference to how psychotherapy will help our youth?
Yes, of course. I was just thinking about that. Firstly, I like how you just introduced that social media is playing a very positive role in making all of us more aware about psychotherapy. And I really would like to highlight the fact that since we have chosen this population of 18 to 25, perhaps one of the motives that we can add to our like to-do lists is that to make a generation who makes mental health or taking therapy normal in our households, as normal as we just go for a body health, like physical health checkup. So perhaps all of us, like as you said, ma'am, that youth is the population and it's the tomorrow of our country. So perhaps we can create a generation who normalizes mental health, why and probably give our children what we lacked from our like parents or grandparents. And what Vrishti said, that psychotherapeutic techniques that the counselors use affect the learning and emotional centers of the brain of the client. So it's obviously not just talking. It is intervention plan which have a scientific base, and it is catered according to the client. So obviously, if there are two clients who are suffering from depression, obviously their therapy plan won't be the same. So it will be catered according to the client. And ma'am, you being a therapist, you obviously know this. And a psychotherapist spends more than just 1 hour of that therapy researching about the issue that the client has come up with. It's not just that 15 minutes that we are focusing on. It's like the whole day that we are searching, and we are researching on what concern the client has come up with, and the client's lifestyle and the client's. We literally scan. We will judge, not judge. We will. We'll look at the client's lifestyle and cater the therapy plan according to them, which is why psychotherapy plays an important role in how it will help the client to facilitate himself or herself and cope with the concerns that he or she has come up with. So that's all I would like to add.
That's a great summary that you just gave. And look out for that word normalization. I think that's the most important word that you used, Manali. We want to normalize coming to a mental health professional and seeking help for your emotional distress. Very aptly you have put forth that. Great job. Now, Shreya, I'm coming to you. You are going to now explain all our viewers today what is the process of registering for Project Youth. Let's go to the mechanics of Project Youth here. So Shreya is going to talk about what is the registration process, how you need to do that, and secondly, she's also going to highlight you what's inside the box. Not exactly the box, guys, but what is inside of this mental health toolkit. What are we going to talk about and learn? Over to you, Shreya.
Right. Thank you. So the entire registration process is so simple. Like I've just 4 points to discuss. First of all, in order to connect with Atha Center for Psychotherapy and Training, you just need to go to our email, and or maybe you can connect with us on any social media handles of ours, even through Facebook. You can do that and just ask us for the link for the registration form link. If that is not the easier way, you can also drop us a mail on projectyouth.21@gmail.com. That is our email ID. You can drop us a mail, and we will share with you the registration link. After you fill out the first form, please wait until your information is being processed. And once that happens, the second step is that you will get our confirmation email and our payment link. So the second form will contain all the payment details. After that is filled, there will be another form wherein you will be allotted your counselor. You will get all the details of the counselor. You will also be asked for your preferred timings and preferred days, so that we can book a session according to the times that are comfortable for you, and not that and so basically it's you schedule your own session. It's as simple as that. And the final is that you attend your 50-minute session and avail your mental health toolkit that is tailored according to what your concerns are, and what requirements you are supposed to be met with. So now, what's inside this mental health toolkit? So supposing you come with XYZ concern, your mental health toolkit will be designed in a way that only that completely meets the requirements of that particular concern, and it will have all the facts regarding that issue. So supposing you come in for anger management, it will have all the facts and important information that you must know. So basically awareness about your own issue, so that you don't hear about things here and there and add to the self stigma. So those facts will be there. The second most important thing is the strategies to deal with your concern. The third thing is your trigger lists. So the mental health toolkit will have all the all the possible triggers that may contribute to your concern, and the strategies will be built according to the way these triggers can be coped with. So your strategies will also be very quick and very applicable strategies. The fourth thing is you will have quotes with your like in your mental health toolkit, so that you can read them every day to yourself, and start your day fresh, like with a very affirming, very positive quote. um, the second I mean sorry the fifth thing that will be in your mental health toolkit is, we've given this the term of unwinding yourself. So basically this will have like really quick in the moment strategy. So for example, if you're having like a panic, if you're in the panic phase, what are the quick things that you can do to deal with it at that moment? So unwind yourself in that moment is something that will be providing you in the toolkit. The final thing is rational affirmations, some self-talk dialogues that you can read out to yourself, or you can tell yourself while you're in that moment of anxiety or anger or whatever the concern is. While you are in that moment, whatever self-talk or whatever rational affirmations you should give yourself to strengthen your rational beliefs is something that we are going to give you in the mental health toolkit. Yes.
So this is very, very interesting. And the best thing about this toolkit is it is centered towards your concerns and needs. It's not about us here, it is about you. And we are going to try our best to help you get these skills so that you can use them on a daily basis. This toolkit also has interesting and very important scientific practices that you can actually do on yourself to work on your anger, to work on your procrastination. So, what are the emotional concerns and behavioral problems that we are going to address? Anxiety, stress, depression, procrastination, addiction, gaming addiction, social media addiction,
There's
probably even
family
smoking.
distress.
Yes, family distress, right? Also, I guess lack of motivation. We
Yes,
all
yes.
suffer from the problem of motivation. So, we are also going to address these problems and much more. If you have any doubts with reference to this toolkit, you can write to us. We have also shared our registration link for this project youth, which you can click on and you will get all the details. If you have any more enquiries to make, if you want to understand this in more depth, write to us uh, with the help of our email address, and you can also contact us on WhatsApp with the number that's been shared in the comment section. Ishwari, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to re-highlight and emphasize on two things that is very unique to Project Youth. Is that A, it's affordable. Second, this this mental health toolkit is something very special that all of us, the team, has put together and we've come up with, and it is like a unique offering that the Project Youth team and Ather has to give to you, because I don't think, even ma'am, I've ever heard anywhere something like somebody is offering a mental health toolkit. It's something so different, and I don't know about the clients who would come to us, but I'm definitely so excited to offer people these things with such a amazing team uh, supporting me. So two things that I really wanted to highlight: affordable and the mental health toolkit. So I hope that this reaches people again. And yes,
Right. Because Ishwari did mention about it being very pocket friendly. Let me tell you the price also. The price you got to pay to learn the mental health toolkit. So it is 200 rupees for 50-minute session. So this session, like for example, if I am the client and I'm coming to Shreya, I'll have to probably pay 200 rupees, and then I will have a session with Shreya, individual session. It's not even group, it's individual attention that you will get from the therapist. It's catered towards you, right? So 200 rupees for 50-minute sessions. So if you need more sessions, you can then, you know, tell us how many sessions you need. Probably I need 4 sessions, then 4 into 200 rupees, like that. So 800 rupees. So it's very, very affordable. I know that therapy sometimes can be a bit on the higher side for youth, uh, because they are still struggling and trying to uh, find their way, find their career, and apply for jobs, etc. So taking their financial struggles into consideration, we have together decided on this price for this toolkit, right? So this is something about the session cost. Now, the last thing that we are going to talk before we end this interaction between us is call for collaboration. Why we came together today to tell you all this? Because we will not be able to reach individuals if we only concentrate on our contacts. We want to connect with all of you all. If you have any different ideas, if you have any different concepts which you want to add to this toolkit, remember we are open for collaboration. And this is also an appeal to all of you, people who are listening to this talk and people who would listen to this talk, that please come up with ideas and connect with us. So, how can you contribute? So, first contribution, all the teachers, educators, mental health professionals, psychiatrists, doctors, all of us, we can come together and you can encourage youth around to register for this project youth so that they can prevent, change, and transform their lives. So you can actually share this registration link and email with all your contacts. I've already shared the link in the comment. All our handles, social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, we have this information there. Or you can even write to us to get this information. So one is by sharing widely, anyone and everyone. Secondly, you can also sponsor these mental health toolkits if you want for a particular client, or you can just sponsor some of the toolkit so that people who are in need of this mental health toolkit, we can actually give them this and you will be sponsoring it. So that would be the most amazing thing. So, second way to help is to sponsor. Third is college institutions, educational institutions. You can come forward and we'll be more than happy to give you a better discount if we have huge population to cater to. We are also open to do free 40-minute webinars on this mental health toolkits, giving them a glimpse. We'll be more than happy to conduct a 40-minute webinar session on different toolkits, like for example procrastination, and we can show a glimpse of how it is going to help your students. So another appeal to college institutions, school institutions, and classes, coaching classes, even they can approach us. A very what you say unconventional idea was put forth by Manali. She said that you can even gift this toolkit to your loved ones. I think that's a great gift that you can give to your loved ones. So if you have a teenager at your in your house, if you have someone whom you want to gift, we generally we keep gifting each other, but just imagine if you gift a mental health toolkit, it will definitely make a difference. Let's start with us, right? So gifting is also possible. So that's another way to contribute towards this project. If any one of you want a proposal with reference to the entire process that we explained today, we'll be more than happy to send it across to all of you. So we can also email you the proposal and you can work on it. And most importantly, the most encouraging way to contribute is to give us feedback, give us your invaluable inputs. So if there is something that's not making sense, if there is something that can make more sense, we are we will be very pleased to actually include those points and make it more uh, friendly, youth friendly, and obviously widely applicable. So you can share your invaluable feedback in the comment section today, or you can write to us, or you can share your feedback on our social media handles. So, all the team members, this was an appeal from my side. If you have any other ideas for collaboration, please you can discuss them. I think we have
Ma'am,
covered
I
most of the points. Yeah, Vrishti, yes.
Yes. So yes, of course, the collaboration. And ma'am, I just want to take this opportunity and tell all the viewers that that other than collaboration, also actually telling people nearby or just forwarding this information ahead will really help a lot. And as Ishwari mentioned, that this project is really dear to us, and how much ever it reaches to more people, it will be a progress for us. So I think just at least supporting or motivating someone to go to the therapy is also a big step here.
I think that's a great point that you mentioned. That just spreading the word travels faster. It's nothing but a thought, so it is going to travel really faster here. So I'm sure that all of us have benefited from these mental health toolkits. We have done so many webinars now from the last year, so we know how it impacts uh, individuals and their lifestyle, especially their quality of life. So let us not hesitate here. All of you, please spread the word about this Project Youth and try to make a difference here to yourself and to someone else's mental constitution. Because let me tell you, mind is everything. We know this. And this is a toolkit that is going to empower your mind, and mind needs to be the strongest to face any situation, whether it is joy or sorrow. Your mind is going to be with you forever. So let's empower minds by spreading this toolkit everywhere. So I would like to thank all the viewers today for joining this session and all my team members for joining this session. It's been an absolute joy to share this news with all of you about Project Youth and also help you understand what it contains. Take care. Have a great evening ahead. And we will soon upload this session even on our YouTube channel, so you can access this session there. Any closing comments by anyone?
Ma'am, thank you so much for this opportunity. And it's a great, great idea that you have come up with for the community youth project. I think it's really excellent idea that you have put forward. And it's really great that you gave us the opportunity and are doing such projects. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I really agree with Vrishti. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I think with this project, we are, empowering the society in general, right? So it's like the enhancement to the other stage. So, yeah, thanks again.
And ma'am, thank you for trusting us and our capabilities as a psychologist. And of course, with your supervision, I think we'll be able to do justice to this project. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
I think this is a collaborative effort, so I would like to thank all of you, and I will accept your, uh, your offering here, your offering of help, and the way you guys have volunteered. So it's great to work with this team, and surely, as Manali was also saying, that this is something we are going towards normalization. We are making a change here. So please help us in making a bigger and a more lasting change, because we don't want to start and stop. We want to start, speed up, grow, expand. That's what we are looking at. And I think this cannot be possible only by an individual effort or just one team. We need various such teams helping us reach to one and all. So I'm going to end the live session now. We'll see you more for our webinars. Oh, guys, don't forget we have a webinar coming up on 31st Jan, which is on navigating through loneliness. Do register for that webinar. We can definitely send you the link of that webinar. If you don't have the link, what you can do is you can write to us on our email address, so we can forward you the link there. This webinar is going to help you, what you say, equip you actually with tools to, you know, manage loneliness, and obviously how to navigate through it, because all of us we go through loneliness at least in some stages of our life. So I've also shared the registration form with all of you here in the comment section for this webinar. Do sign up for it. And this webinar is also going to be live on YouTube, so you'll be able to even see it on YouTube there. Okay, see you.